Well, the Eagles just got some much-needed news, as following some major injuries, the Birds got a positive update on Reed Blankenship that all Philly fans will love to hear. Unfortunately, though, they also got some surprise injury news today on another key player that's pretty concerning. Meanwhile, Vic Fangio spoke on Sidney Brown as he's preparing to take on a much bigger role for the rest of the season. Plus, the Bears could be getting some game-changing developments as well, as it seems like they could get a major boost on defense with the return of a few key players. Still, though, they're pretty banged up, so we'll talk about that. Plus, hear Jordan Mailata defend Kevin Patullo, and why does Nick Sirianni deserve a lot of the blame? Well, let's talk about that and all the other latest news starting right now. Alright, well, the vibes are not exactly very high in the city of Philadelphia right now, as the Birds' embarrassing collapse against the Cowboys has left a bad taste in the mouths of Eagles fans and the team themselves. And naturally, a few guys have been under heavy fire and criticism since the loss, none more than offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, which, as much as I don't think the loss is solely on him, I think the criticism is very well deserved. Yet, that didn't stop Jordan Mailata from sticking up for his OC in an appearance on WIP on Monday night.
Bring up Patullo a lot unprompted.
I just think he cops a lot of slack for no reason. You know, I thought he put us in. I thought KP put us in positions multiple times to win that game. And what did we do as players? Not execute and penalties. So you can say all you want, fire KP, da-da-da. You got to put some blame on us players because we're out there playing. We're the ones who are crapping all over the place.
Look, I honestly don't disagree with Mailata fully there, and I also appreciate him standing up for his offensive coordinator. I mean, that's what good leaders do, and also, he's very much right that the players deserve a lot of the blame. I mean, I talked about it in my last video, but they simply just shot themselves in the foot way too many times with penalties and turnovers and just overall bad execution. And if these things didn't happen, even with the bad play calling from Patullo, the Eagles still probably win this game. So in that sense, I agree with him. That said, though, if you just look at the 2025 Eagles in general, I think it's safe to say that Kevin Patullo has easily been their biggest overall problem. I mean, at the end of the day, this Eagles offense is extremely talented, and if you look back through every season of the Nick Sirianni era, this has been the year where the offense has struggled and underperformed the most. And the one big change from last year to this year is Kevin Patullo as the offensive coordinator and play caller. So I just don't think that's a coincidence.
Just art, and I don't see that this year. I don't think anyone sees it. Even fans that are passionate Eagles fans, because I spent a lot of, I've been to Philly several times, and you hear every time I run across Philly, man, what do you think's gonna happen with the offense? Mm-hmm. What's going on? Like, is this Jalen? I'm like, listen, it's a team thing. When you get listen, Kevin Patullo is probably a great dude, great coach, but there's an art to play calling that not everyone has, and it's not showing up this year. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Nick Foles. At the end of the day, Kevin Patullo is just not a good play caller. And if I were Nick Sirianni, I personally would be looking to make a change. But unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. Because, of course, like I talked about in my last video, Sirianni actually defended Patullo on Monday and said that he hadn't even considered switching play calling duties, which, that's honestly no surprise considering the fact that Sirianni and KP are best buddies. But, this is one reason that Nick Sirianni actually deserves a lot of the blame, too. Now, I'm not going to take it as far as a lot of Eagles fans have been saying that we should fire the guy. I mean, at the end of the day, he's got one of the highest all-time win percentages among head coaches, and he's led the Eagles to 2 Super Bowl appearances and won one of them in the short amount of time that he's been here. So it's clear that he's doing something right, and I'm not going to be that reactionary about it. And personally, I think Sirianni is a great leader, culture builder, motivator, and just overall manager of this football team. That said, what he's not is a great offensive mind, and you can clearly see his fingerprints all over this offense in the passing game, just like every other year that he's been here. Now, at times, we've seen the Eagles have really good passing concepts, and with the right OC and play caller, like Kellen Moore or Shane Steichen, it works just fine. I mean, it's been even great at times, but now, with somebody like Patullo, who's in over his head, you can see all the major problems. And, of course, again, Nick is the one who promoted KP, and he won't demote him now because they're friends. So that's on him. And that's not even mentioning the Eagles' conservative approach at times this season in certain situations, and also the undisciplined nature of this team in certain games. I mean, that stuff also goes back to the head coach. So, definitely not saying that Nick should be fired. I still think he's a good head coach, but Sirianni very much does deserve a lot of the blame right now. And then when it comes to the run game, as much as it's kind of hard to admit, guys like Jeff Stoutland and Saquon Barkley deserve a little bit of the blame too. And shout out to Anthony DeVonta for pointing this out, but obviously the Eagles' run game has been a huge problem this year, and while some of that can be chalked up to the play calling and the guys being banged up on the offensive line, Stout's the run game coordinator, and the run game has gotten stale this year while the offensive line, which Stout is responsible for, albeit banged up, is underperforming and has just been undisciplined this year. So, I love Stout, but he does have to be better. And same goes for Saquon to a degree. Now, honestly, I would probably rank him last when it comes to the run game problems because he really just doesn't have anywhere to run most of the time, but this past game against the Cowboys, it definitely wasn't his best performance. Now, again, I love Barkley, I love Stout, and I think they deserve very much less of the blame, but still, just thought it was important to note that the Eagles' struggles on offense go far beyond just Kevin Patullo. I mean, it's on some of the players, it's on the other coaches, but the bottom line is we know the potential is there. Like, we've seen it before even this season, and they just gotta find a way to get it fixed and be consistent. And of course, their next opportunity is coming up pretty quickly, as the Birds will face off against the 8-3 Chicago Bears on Friday in what is going to be an absolutely huge game. And while the matchup itself is exciting, it's also exciting that the Birds are going to be wearing their black jerseys with the black helmets for what I believe is the only time this year. And I don't know, that's exciting to me because as a kid, the black jerseys were always my favorite, and I feel like they've kind of been forgotten about since they brought back the Kelly Greens. So glad to see that they'll be wearing them here in an actual important game. And that it is, because right now, the Eagles and Bears sit at the 2 and 3 seeds in the NFC respectively, so this matchup is going to have massive playoff implications, and whoever loses this one likely falls out of the running for the number 1 seed. So again, it's a huge game, and the Bears are a tough opponent. I mean, they're obviously on the rise this year with Ben Johnson as the new head coach. Caleb Williams is doing a solid job in his second season just running that offense that ranks towards the top of the league in most major categories. They're one of the very best running teams in the league, and overall, they just find ways to win. As they're on a 4-game winning streak, they consistently have been able to win in one-score games. I mean, that's been the formula for them all year, and a big reason for that is that they do something that the Eagles try to do, and that is win the turnover battle, as they lead the league in takeaways and turnover differential. So, again, this Chicago team may be young and less experienced, but they're playing with a ton of confidence right now, and they just find ways to win. So it's definitely going to be a challenge for the Eagles. Now that said, they do also have weaknesses on defense, as they actually rank towards the bottom of the league in yards, passing, rushing, and points allowed, and they've also been pretty banged up there recently, and will be banged up for this game against the Eagles, especially at linebacker. As last week, the Bears were without their top 3 guys at that position, as they recently placed Tremaine Edmunds on IR as he's dealing with a groin injury, which, that's a big loss for them, as he's obviously a really good player and has 4 interceptions on the year. And then the former Eagle TJ Edwards was also out last week and the past few weeks while recovering from hand surgery and also an injured hamstring. And also, their other starting linebacker, Noah Sewell, missed last week with an elbow injury. Now, Edwards and Sewell's statuses are definitely up in the air. There's a chance that they will play, there's a chance that they won't play, but, we'll continue to monitor that throughout the week. Now, the Bears' first injury report of the week showed that both Edwards and Sewell were estimated as missing practice, so that's definitely noteworthy. Still, though, things definitely are trending up for them on the injury front, as not only could they be getting Edwards and Sewell back, again, depending on what happens later in the week, but there's also a really solid chance that they get a major boost to their secondary. As after both star cornerback Jaylon Johnson and star nickel Kyler Gordon have missed many games for the Bears this year while on IR, Jeremy Fowler reported before the Steelers game this past week that the Bears are hopeful that both Johnson and Gordon could come off of IR in return for the game against the Eagles on Black Friday. And what do you know, first injury report of the week, both Johnson and Gordon were listed as full participants. So, obviously this would be huge for Chicago considering that Johnson and Gordon are 2 of the best players in the entire league at their respective positions. I mean, Johnson has been one of the game's lockdown corners for years, being named second team All-Pro in 2023 and going to the Pro Bowl the past 2 seasons. Meanwhile, Gordon is the highest paid slot corner in the game and is just a really, really good player. So if both those guys return this week, it'll definitely make the Bears defense even better, and in turn, it'll make things tougher on Philly's already struggling offense. Luckily for the Eagles, though, they did reveal some much-needed news on Tuesday, as of course, Sunday was just not a good day for their defense in terms of injuries, as they lost Adoree Jackson to a concussion, Reed Blankenship to a thigh injury, and Andrew Mukuba to a fractured ankle that's going to require surgery and possibly end of the season. So, obviously, that's a major blow. As for Reed Blankenship, though, Vic Fangio's update on him on Tuesday was extremely positive.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so that's obviously great news. Definitely sounds like Reed Blankenship is expected to play on Friday, and that's huge news, considering that, first off, if he couldn't play, that would force the Eagles to go to either Michael Carter or Andre Sam as the starter, which isn't ideal, but also, Reed is just a super important piece of this Eagles defense, and I think an underrated one, not just being a really good player, but also as the vocal leader and quarterback of the secondary, and I think you could see that, how it affected the defense and the secondary once he went out against the Cowboys. And also, Reed's just a really good player and has been a consistent presence in their secondary for years now at the safety position, and he's also one of those guys that has a knack for taking the football away. He just got his first one last game against the Cowboys, so again, to likely have him available for this Bears game is huge. Especially since with Mukuba's injury, the Birds are going to have to turn to the third-year man Sidney Brown to step up and fill his absence, and safe to say, Eagles fans aren't too excited about that. And I get it, because Sid didn't look great on Sunday, and as much as I love the energy that he plays with, he's pretty undisciplined out there and has a tendency to miss tackles, and he also hasn't been great in coverage, so there's definitely reason to be concerned. That said, Vic Fangio gave Sid a pretty good endorsement on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think he's been doing a good job in practice with the reps that he does get. He's done a good job staying in tune in the meetings and the walkthroughs, and I'm excited to see how he does.
I don't know. I guess we all have our opinions on Sid, but now we're going to actually get to see what he can do in a bigger starting role. And as much as we look at the bad things with him, he's also done some good things during his career too. So who knows? Maybe Sidney Brown's going to surprise us, and he's going to need to, because again, he's likely going to start for the rest of the season. So he's got to make the most of this opportunity. Moving on though, the Eagles also actually got some surprise injury news here as I was about to post, as Tuesday's injury report revealed that one, Adoree Jackson was a full participant, which is a good sign, but something that's not so good is that both Brandon Graham and DeVonta Smith were listed as out of practice, BG with a groin issue and Smitty with a shoulder/chest injury. Now, Tuesday was a walkthrough, not a full practice, so the report is just an estimation, but obviously, this is terrible news. I mean, for one, BG having a groin issue, that's definitely not good. Hopefully he's okay. But the news on Smitty specifically has the potential to be game-changing. Because, DeVonta has been the Birds' leading receiver this year and has probably been their most consistent offensive weapon. So if he's not able to play on Friday, that's obviously a major blow to the Eagles' offense, and one that, quite honestly, they can't afford right now, considering that, again, this is a huge game and one they need to win, and with the offense struggling, they need Smitty out there. So, obviously, it's early in the week. Obviously, he could be back on Wednesday, and maybe it's no big deal, but definitely concerning to see Smitty dealing with not one, but two injuries. But that said, you guys know I'm going to be continuing to cover everything that comes out this entire week, so make sure you subscribe and you turn on notifications so you don't miss any other Eagles coverage coming throughout the rest of this season. And also, hit the like button, because that really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to at least 500 likes today. And also hit the hype button, because that helps me out a ton as well. And if you do want to watch another Eagles video going over their loss to the Cowboys, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.